Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be working with the Standing Proud paper that was designed by Ricky Schumacher, and we're going to be doing two projects. The first is decoupaging a mirror. I found this old mirror at a thrift store and knew I wanted to do something with it. And the first thing I had to do was to remove what felt like bazillion staples from the back. Tip, I found that a pair of pliers worked best. Just be careful, they're sharp. Next, it was time to decide the design that I wanted on my mirror. This was really a beautiful paper and I wanted to get as much of it on as I could. So I used my fingers to do a score line around the edges. This makes it easier to reposition the paper when it's time to decoupage. Once that was done, I turned it over and using my scissors, I cut along just outside of those score lines. I'm saving my scraps. We're going to be using that for another project at the end of the video. I laid my paper back in place and then I mixed a 2-part resin. This is a crystal clear resin. It does take a while to cure. That was the hardest part, but I mixed it in equal parts A and B, and then I stirred really well. I wanted to protect my surface. A trash bag works great. And then I laid my mirror down and my paper, and it was now time to decoupage. I'm using a foam brush. I felt that since I'm using resin that this would eliminate most of the brush strokes, since resin is a thicker medium than I typically decoupage with. And so now I'm using a felt squeegee as I go along, and I'm just repeating the process, just working in smaller sections. You can see underneath the paper that the resin has already started to soak in. And the reason I chose the resin is because it makes your paper more translucent. And that was my goal for this mirror, because I want the reflective qualities of the mirror to show underneath the paper. Once everything was smoothed down, I then sealed it with another coat of resin, again using my foam brush. Once that was done, I had to let it dry overnight. I swear that was the hardest part. I was so impatient. But it did finally dry, and I absolutely love the beautiful reflective qualities underneath that paper. To me, it's just beautiful. So it was time to remove the excess paper, and I used a sanding block, and working in a downward motion, I removed all the excess paper from my mirror. Once that was done, it was time to attach the mirror to the frame again. And for this, I decided to spare myself a million staples, and I used these little metal glaciers instead. And so I put them in place, and then with a screwdriver, I pushed them in, and then I went all around the frame with this. Once that was all done, I was just thrilled with the results of this. I hope you like it too. I didn't want to let those scraps go to waste, and so now we're going to just create some little bits of artwork with them. I took that scrap paper and chose a piece of it and cut it a little bit more down to size, a little more manageable really for the size of the canvases that I'd be working with. And so once I had that, I decided to work with 2 little canvases at one time. Why not? I'm at it anyway, and so this was just a time saver. I'm using Easels 1 Hour Enamel Clear Coat in matte to decoupage my paper onto my canvases, smoothing it down with a piece of plastic wrap. Each of these will be a little bit different when I'm done, and then smoothing them in place, and then I cut them apart with an X-Acto knife. And then it was, again, more sanding. So again, working in a downward motion, I removed all the excess paper. When I was done, I had 4 canvases. Each of the canvases came with these little unfinished wood easels, and I started with a base coat of Easels Chalk Synthesis paint in earth, and then when that was dry, I painted each of the easels with Easels Heavy Metals Metallic paint in bronze. I next took that same bronze paint and I wanted to touch up the white edges of my canvases, and I purposely let some of that paint go onto the design, the front of the design. I just like the kind of vintage torn look it gives. And then I added a little stippling of that bronze paint in the center of each of my pieces. And now I have these 4 beautiful little mini pieces of artwork. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll like it and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching.